Okay.
Law.
On this episode
On this
two
episode
idiots.
of the Film Reverie Podcast, it's Michael Beckmeyer, Brad Kingston. Okay, everybody, quiet on the set.
Film Reverie Podcast, take 3.
Except it's take 2.
2, 1, 3, 4. Film Reverie Podcast, take 3.
Would you quit saying
I said 3. Go, go, go.
Okay, everybody, quiet on the set.
Film Reverie Podcast, take 2.
And action. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Film Reverie Podcast. I'm Michael Beckmeyer, joined as always by my friend
Blah,
and
blah, blah.
co-host. What's your name again?
Brad.
Brad Kingston.
Yes.
It's a Brad Kingston. He's sitting right there. Today on the show, we have a long interview that I did on my own with film and TV and voice actor Dan Wachs.
Yeah.
He's a local.
And I have to say, it was an amazing interview.
Well, thank you for validating my efforts.
Yes, it sounded like NPR.
It sounded like it.
Seriously.
Well, it did sound good. I think Dan is a voice actor, so he's got that
Oh
set
my
up in his
God.
house. So his microphone is just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I talked to him one-on-one, but he's had he had some really sage words of advice and wisdom for anybody trying to, break into the business and what, success in general and just life. He had a lot of life lessons as well.
It was strangely captivating. Like, even though it is a long interview, I'm hanging on every word.
Yeah.
Which is not normal because I have ADD. I get bored very quickly.
Well, I've known Dan for a couple of years. We worked together on a short film of mine called In Pajamas, and he came in and played a small part. But ever since then, I will have these phone calls with Dan where we just talk about life and what's going on these days, and it's always like a treat to talk to him because he's a conversationalist and he's always got like a unique and smart and well thought out perspective on things.
And what I love the best is with all of his answers, he was teaching.
Yeah.
You're learning something with everything he said.
Yeah, he's a teacher.
Yes.
He's a good teacher. And so that's that. So we're not going to come back at the end of the show. We're just going to start the interview and you'll just listen to that, and we won't be back, and we'll see you in the next show. But we have a couple of things we want to mention first.
We're doing our credits at the top of the show.
Our show credits We want to say hello to Mikey G, who is an actor in Tampa, Florida, who listened to our first episode, liked it, and he had some really kind things to say in a couple of emails that he and I shared back and forth.
And that's so amazing. I've never worked on a podcast where within the first week of posting it, you're posting your first show, you've got a response already?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I got to tell you that I don't know if Mikey G, I don't think that's his full name, Mikey G, but that's how he came through as me.
Yeah.
I don't know if he realized it, but he emailed us within the first 24 hours our
oh,
show was
wow.
off.
I didn't.
You sort of expect a show to come out and it'll be a while before people start to listen and everything, but it was up there for less than a day, and I got an email from him.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to hear from him. So we talked back and forth, and actually he's the one that suggested, why don't we start a mailing list?
Yeah.
Which we're going to do. So if you want to sign up for a mailing list so we can let you know when a new show is out or when we're working on something or doing something special, send us an email at filmreveriepodcast@gmail.com and we'll add you to the list. I also want to say hello to my friend Camilla in the UK, who I've known on Twitter for a long while, at least 2 years, 2 or 3 years at least. You sort of lose sense of time on Twitter, so you don't really know. It's all But she listened to our first show and also had some really nice things to say. She said you were funny.
Yay!
And that's something I'd never heard before.
That's mine.
I've heard you say you were funny.
I know I'm funny.
Yeah, see, that's what I've heard, but I've never heard anyone else actually say it to.
Oh, whatever. But laughter means funny.
Laughter means funny,
even if it's at my expense and because I'm stupid.
Well, we're just saying that because Brad makes me laugh all the time. But Camilla had some really nice things to say, and actually hearing from both of them kind of put me at ease, thinking,
hey, somebody cares.
Somebody else listened to it and said that our first try wasn't all that bad.
She could have said pretty good. It would have been better than all that.
What she said was, podcasts don't normally make her laugh, but this one did.
Yay, I win again! Woohoo! Two for oh.
So if you want to be like Mikey G and Camilla in the UK and want to follow us on Twitter.
And you like me and I make you laugh.
Well, let's not add that stipulation.
Okay, never mind.
Maybe people want to follow us on Twitter, but they don't think you're funny.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, okay. We are at Film Reverie on Twitter. And if you want to send us an email, it is filmreverypodcast@gmail.com. And we also started a phone line.
Oh, yeah, that is so cool.
It's for people to call in and leave messages, ask questions, just make a general comment. It's awesome to get voicemail from people from all over the world.
What I like is to be able to play certain messages that we like or whatever are interesting.
Yeah.
We can play them on the show.
Yeah. Say something cool enough.
Yeah, if you want to be on the show, leave a voicemail and say something cool like, Brad makes me laugh. I find his voice sexy, even though at first I thought he was a woman. Because his voice is very effeminate.
Well, if you want to help bloat Brad's ego, already apparently ginormous
it's already
ego.
Too late.
It's too late. You can call us at 321-801-3271 and leave us a message, and that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's it. So for now, we will say goodbye for now. We'll see you in
Take 3?
In Take 3 of Film Reverie Podcast.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is going to be with our friend and longtime friend and
mentor.
And movie mentor and all that stuff, Cooj Quayle of the Cooj Show.
But he goes by Cooj, like Madonna.
Just Cooj. Yeah, he's a one name. He's a one name guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. People recognize him by Cooj. They don't know who Cooj Quayle is, but Cooj. So Cooj of the CoojShow.com. We're gonna have a nice chat with him about empowerment in the movies,
and that's a teaser. You got to wait a week.
You gotta wait a whole week for that
to figure out what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah. But for now, we're gonna roll the interview and begin. So, okay, hello, Dan. How's it going?
Good, Michael. How you doing?
I'm good. So, are you Dan or Daniel? Do you professionally?
Well, both. I was Dan Wachs my entire life, and when I became an actor and I tried to build a website, danwachs.com was taken. I wanted to be a .com kind of guy,
right?
So I went to danielwachs.com for my acting, but I stayed danwachs.com for my voiceover. And if you're a brilliant marketing guy, you'll recognize immediately that is a terrible tactic based on a poor strategy.
You got to start somewhere.
Right.
So I can call you either one, and you just know who I'm talking to.
I believe I'll know who you're talking to.
So, okay.
If you look in my direction.
Okay. I've always called you Dan. So
Dan's good.
Then I was thinking about our conversation, and I thought, well, maybe he's Daniel, and I just call him Dan because I'm just a casual guy. How did you get into the business way back when? You started out as a radio guy.
I was a radio guy. I went to college in the Midwest, and I was a business major at Bradley University because I didn't know what kind of major to do, and I barely got out of high school. And
I know the feeling.
I went into Bradley, and I didn't do a lot of studying, but I did take a job on the campus newspaper, the Bradley Scout, and this is 1964. I was 17 years old. And so one day I was working at the newspaper, and there was this guy playing a record across the hall from the newspaper. And it was it was a comedy record. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Hey, can you play that again?" He goes, shh, this is a radio station. And I immediately decided I was going to get into radio, but back in the 60s, the stuff that colleges, especially in the highly conservative Midwest, Barry Goldwater country, bomb everybody. And it's still that way, right? So anyway, they had study music back then, like strings. So I said, look, let me do a show based on, I was from Philly, based on, the soul music that I loved in Philadelphia. Let me have one show on a Wednesday night. And if I get 20 requests, then I'd like to do the first rock and roll show, which is really a soul show on the radio at WRBU and at Bradley. And they did. And I papered the campus with signs, listen to the music you love from back east, and all the New York and Philly and Boston people who were out there in the middle of nowhere in Peoria, Illinois. I got a lot of calls. That's how I started in radio. That was probably way too long an answer.
No, your answers can be as long as you want them to.
Oh, okay, good.
And
good.
So from there, I guess you went to like regular terrestrial radio. You were like a DJ, radio DJ?
A little bit. I flunked out of Bradley because all I did was work in the campus newspaper and radio station. Yeah. So I got the pink slip. But I ended up researching various colleges, and it was desperate for me to do so because it was right in the thick of the Vietnam War as the troops were really being sent over there, and I had a college deferment. So I got accepted to Emerson College in Boston, which it was all about speech therapy, theater arts, and broadcasting. So I got in based on the actual work I did in radio and in the newspaper. And I was very fortunate to do so. Or I would be sitting here speaking to you as a dead person.
That would be even more impressive than the succeeding as an actor.
Yes, it would be quiet though. It would be subtext.
Much quiet.
The whole thing would be subtext.
It's okay though, because I've had a lot of experience talking to myself. So
okay, good. Same here.
Okay, so from there, how long did you stay in radio and all that stuff, and how did you use that to transition into being an actor? Were you an actor first or a voiceover actor first? I know I've asked you that before.
I was a radio guy, and I was a DJ and a newsman on the air, broadcast journalist. Back in the days where they had broadcast journalism. Yeah. And that means honest reporting, facts, attribution, and things like that don't exist anymore on any station, right or left. But basically, I got out of college. I went to the dean and I said, listen, I don't want to go to graduation because I want to get a jump on the job market. He said, you don't have to go to the graduation ceremony. You've already been in college 5 years. And I ended up working at a radio station in Trenton, New Jersey for just an anarchist maniac. And that lasted a few weeks. But then I got a real job as a newsman in Wilmington, Delaware. Mm-hmm. And then I got a job in Philadelphia radio. And eventually I became a sales guy. And in doing that, I would do some of my own commercials for my clients in order to entice them to buy advertising on my lowly ranked station. At the end of the day, I was in radio for 32 years. I ended up sales manager in Washington, D.C. after a sales manager stint in Rochester, New York. And my buddy from Rochester called me up and said, we have to buy a radio station. So with no money, we ended up buying, getting like a $2 million loan and buying a $1.79 million property in Wheeling, West Virginia and Portsmouth, Ohio. So we went from general sales managers in our respective stations to owners of radio stations. And that's called Ready, Fire, Aim, because we were so unprepared it was ridiculous. Although we had a great mentor who helped us do it, without whom we would not have been able to do it. So I advise everyone, get a mentor.
Get a mentor. So did you turn into the guy that everybody complained about? You were like the station owner that like created all the rules that people had to complain about.
Yes, I have a great deal of empathy for all managers that get shit tossed upon them by their staffs.
Okay. So your mentor is who was that? Who was your mentor?
His name was Randy O'Donnell, and he was one of the three partners of Sconix Broadcasting. And I just had the pleasure of seeing Randy again, but at a very sad occasion because my partner passed away on Memorial Day of this year. So I saw him at the funeral. It's the first time I've seen him in, I don't know, 15, 20 years, something like that. But, and Randy was a lifelong broadcaster too, like myself. And he basically put us into business by securing a loan on top of the bank loan that was necessary to get the whole thing going. So he helped finance this, actually. Yeah. But we're not talking about banking, but I could go on about banking for a long time.
You still own the radio station?
You'd be sleeping and snoring.
Most likely. And I'm still trying to understand addition, so.
Yeah. Me too.
So do you still own the radio station, or do you?
Oh, no, we sold we sold a long time ago. Okay. My partner and I were partners for about 8 or 9 years, and we sold in the mid-'90s. Yeah. And then I decided what to do with my life, and I saw the radio business going to hell in a handbasket, being totally dominated by the stock market, and therefore the old days were gone. I don't like the new days. So I took a job just about that time. I didn't want to buy into the business again, and I became a general manager of radio stations in the Orlando market, right here in Orlando. And I did that for about 7, 8 years, and then I resigned completely out of radio in August 31st, today's August 31st.
It is.
August 31st, 1999.
Huh.
That's when I left radio for good.
So 15 years ago today.
Good Lord.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It went well. I mean, the parting of the ways went well.
The parting of the ways went well.
Yeah, after some legal issues, they went fine after that.
We'll just leave it at that. We don't want you to get in trouble with it.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that.
Okay, so to the why we're here. You are a voice actor.
Yeah.
I think is what you call yourself, as a voice actor, not a voiceover artist. Yeah, you're a voice actor and a film and TV actor.
Yes, I am.
Voice actor. You've got the hat on right there.
I do.
So, how did you start? You started as somebody who basically had some
I started in
classes.
acting. I was looking up a gig for my wife for singing. She's a lounge singer, and had done that for a period of time. So I was looking for a new gig, and I went to Craigslist Talent before it became all nudie stuff on camera, X-rated stuff. It used to be legitimate, and I saw a casting for a Full Sail 35 millimeter film, and I auditioned for it. And it was I just said, I think I want to try that, because actors are so brave, and they expose themselves and they hold themselves up to these bright lights that look right through their eyes into their hearts, and that's got to be hard. So I'm going to try something hard that I've never done before, where I am not the general manager, where I'm not the owner, where I am not the guy where the buck stops here, but step way back to the beginning when I'm just starting out in something. And I thought it would be great to be one of the troops rather than one of the generals for a change. And I went, and I did not get the audition. I didn't get the role. And I knew I wouldn't, because I wasn't happy with my own audition. It was a hard part. And but it fired me up, and I said, "Boy, I'm going to get in some of these films." So I started, like many of my fellow actors here in Orlando started, by doing college films.
Yeah,
and this was 2009.
That's what I've always been most impressed with at actors. Well, maybe not most impressed with, but that's one of the main things I'm impressed with, is that you guys in general take. It's like you're the only ones that are visible. So it takes a lot of bravery to even work with someone you trust, let alone to step on camera with someone you've never worked with before, and to wait to see if they're going to be good at directing. You know what I mean? You
said it. Yeah, you said one of my favorite words there that I love about acting is trust.
Yeah.
And for example, I was doing a Full Sail project with a young lady where I was a bad guy, a bad old killer guy, and she was a sweet nurse. I was torturing her boyfriend and this and that, and I made her dance with me. Well, I know this gal, and she's not a touchy-feely, like give you a big hug when you say hello type of gal. And she's a wonderful person, but we were in a position where we had to have physical, intimate contact. So we talked about it, and I said, I see myself in this dance treating you roughly. And I reviewed with her where I could touch, where I could not touch, because you want to be in the safe zone. You don't want to overdo it. And this gal, who was a conservative person by nature, absolutely gave herself to the role, and we danced, and I was rough with her. I mean, like shaking her, and the dance moves were very rough and crude, and too tight a hug and things like that.
Yeah. Inappropriate.
And she was all in. Yeah. Because there was trust. And I thought, wow, what a neat gift that gal just gave me. Yeah. She gave me her trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that about film, and I guess all creative things, but film in particular, you deal with someone you don't know in a highly intimate way. Yeah. And that takes you got to throw off the shell and dive in, in a trusting way. I will catch you if you fall, kind of trust. I love that stuff.
Me too. It's the true element of collaboration. You can't truly collaborate with someone unless you believe they have your back on the other side. You know, you're gonna go down a rabbit hole of emotion or happy, sad, anger, any of that stuff. Whatever you're feeling, it's like the collaboration requires trust, so that to know that they're going to go down there with you and they're going to pull you back out of it one way or the other when the camera stops rolling or any of that stuff. And that's what's impressed me the most about actors every time when I get to work with them, is that it's just part of their thing. They just do it, and they have the ability to switch it on and off. And because you're working with people that you may or may not know, you've never worked with before, you may or may not like actually, but it's a job. So you have to, when cameras roll and you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm the one person who everyone's going to see and associate with this project. And if it bites the dust, I'm the poster child for it. You know what I mean? And it's not, and it's, I tend to never blame a bad performance on an actor until like the absolute last moment, because there's so many other things that go on that are the filmmaker's fault, like the camera, the tension on set, the director just like being daft at, you know, how to massage a performance out of a person, telling the actor to do things asking the actor to do things that don't make any sense to them and not explaining it. And then they want to turn around and say, well, the actor can't act. That's a horrible performance. We have to do this again. Well, it's your fault. It's not the actor's fault. You're supposed to also hire somebody who's right for the part. Anyway, that's my director's rant for.
That's a good rant. I liked your rant. You know, the actor, on the other hand, isn't concerned with anything. Yeah. Hopefully, anything. When the camera's rolling and you have a scene partner, and you're looking that person in the eye, things tend to disappear around that person, and now you are the character. Hopefully. If you've gotten it that far, that you are the character. What do I want from this person? What do I want to do to this person? How do I feel about this person? That's all I care. It's all the actor cares about, really. And every other concern goes away until the camera stops. Then you're hoping it turned out okay.
Yeah, hope you can still be friends after the camera stops rolling.
Absolutely.
So, okay, I'm sure we'll keep talking about acting, but what about your voice work?
What about it?
List some of your, give us some of your resume. Like who have you done work for? When I talked to you the other day,
if anybody listening to this needs a voiceover artist, call me or go to www.voiceoversbydan.com. That's my plug.
Good.
You know, the genres of voiceover I do are pretty broad: radio and television commercials, documentary, which could be, film, video, a lot of video narration and things like that, e-learning. So the kinds of clients that use this service they're just all over the world, and they're all different kinds of clients. I do a good amount of sports. So I work for the Buffalo Bills. So if you go to the game, you'll hear me on the scoreboard. If you're in the market, or if you're in Syracuse or Toronto or any one of the markets around Buffalo, you're in Buffalo. They have a television show the night before the game and the morning of the game, and I do game wrap things, quarterback drops back and he's going to pass and blah, 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 and that whole 9 yards. And I do sponsor IDs for them. I also do work for the Texas Rangers. I've done projects for companies in China, companies in Guam. You've never really lived your life until you've Skyped with a guy named Ulf in Sweden, and Viking right after that. So I was hired by Ulf and Viking. And, you get to talk to these folks and Skype with people all over the world. And that's a real joy of the voiceover business. So there's all kinds of, there's movie trailers. In a world.
Yes. I was just going to ask you to say "in a world," even if just as a joke.
I just did it for you, and I'm not going to do it again unless you pay me.
Okay.
I'll do it again. In a world where Michael Biekemeyer is directing, fear dominates the set.
Yes, I love it.
And some of the stuff, medical narration. I mean, it'll put you to sleep. I did like a 2-hour job for the the state of Georgia, and it was an e-learning thing, an instruction on how their phone operators deal with people calling up about Medicare questions. And I got to tell you, I loved the job because it was a great paying job, but I think I might have put myself to sleep in the middle of the thing.
Doesn't sound
it
like
was fun. So, the voiceover, I love voiceover. Unlike acting, I don't have to drive to an audition.
Yeah.
I don't have to look good. Look at me. I mean, I just walk the dog for an hour in the hot Florida baking sun.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can go to work in
I walk
pajamas.
11 feet from my bedroom to what you're seeing here is my studio environment, which is a converted bedroom with a lot of really good gear.
Yeah, you got a sweet setup.
And I can work. I get jobs and actually make money, and that's pretty cool.
If you can make money and work in your pajamas, that sounds pretty cool to me.
Well, I don't have pajamas, Michael, but maybe you do.
And
was that snarky enough?
I don't even think we want to go to the.
No. I turned that corner. But anyway, yeah. So I've been doing that since 2010, and again, interestingly, I had and have a mentor who got me into that business, and it was a fellow who designed my website for some company we're not even going to talk about. And it turned out he's an old radio guy from Tampa, and I'm an old radio guy from Orlando and the Midwest. Well, West Virginia and Philadelphia and stuff. And we got to talking, and he does voiceover. And his name is Don Capone, www.doncapone.com. And he got me into it. I said, how do I start? I want to try it. And that's how I started that, which was a year after starting acting, I think. So if I started acting in 2009, I started voiceover work in 2010. I've worked for Anheuser-Busch, New York Life, Notre Dame University, the teams I was telling you about, just all kinds of different groups and organizations and companies. It's fun.
Nice. It sounds cool. And you got a sweet setup in there. I see, we're Skyping right now, it's video, but I can see your like soundproofing and your little rack there. Nice. I've got a little 10-channel Yamaha mixer and a microphone. So you've got an impressive setup. It
has to be very high quality. It has to be network quality, because the people that are using my stuff, I mean, if I'm Skyping with someone or talking to someone in Alaska and I'm sending them the tape, I can't go to Alaska to do a spot for the Denali Federal Credit Union, but I could do it right here. And I have equipment that is really top-notch equipment. I also teach seminars.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 times. This is fun. 4 times a year, I do a seminar on how to get into the voiceover business, but I really focus on having people who have acting or some kind of communication or entertainment experience to be in that seminar. So we're all of the common ilk, and people already know how to interpret a script and communicate something and get something going. It's not the kind of situation where wherever you are, I'll teach you how to do this. That's kind of a factory, and I don't I only do it 4 times a year. Yeah. And I used to do private coaching, and I've weaned myself off that because it's just too time consuming. I can't make enough money doing it. And, it's just not my thing, or not my bag, as we used to say in the 70s.
Not my bag, baby. Yeah.
Not my bag.
So if I walked into your classroom or your seminar saying, hey, I want to be a voiceover, a voice actor, what would you tell me to do? What's my first lesson?
Well, I would break it down with you. I also want to say I have a teaching partner, Lauren O'Quinn, who is an acclaimed acting teacher, voice artist. She's been on hundreds of television commercials, has been in many, many films. She's going to have a very nice speaking role in Dolphin Tale 2 that's coming out very shortly. Nice. Trailers are out there with her on the trailer. It's cool. So she's my acting teacher too. And we have a ball doing it together because we see eye to eye on about 97.5% of everything. And then the 3% we go at it. It's kind of fun. But, basically the course, we tell people that it's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on a Saturday. And my promise is by the end of the seminar, 5 o'clock, you'll walk out here knowing everything you need to know in order to start out in the business. That is, of course, if you listen. If you don't listen, you won't know anything. Yeah. But the truth is, we break it out into 3 categories. Voice, which is your product that has everything to do with from, your actual vocal quality. The sound of your that's just pure vocal quality, to the way you enunciate, to the way you interpret, a lot on interpretation, because that's, in voiceover today, it's not the golden announcer voice that rules. It's the everyday person that you can trust. So you hear a lot of voices on network TV commercials that if you just listen on the basis of their voice alone, you'll say, well, that person, I would never imagine that. I wouldn't recommend you go into voiceover, bub. Your voice isn't that great. Yeah. But the day of the golden announcer is pretty much 75% done. Yeah. So we go into voice, we go into how to build a home studio, because really 99.5% of voiceover work is done from the home these days. In all of last year, and I billed 120, I sent out 124 invoices last year, probably did 150, 60 projects. One project was done in someone else's recording studio. So we go into how to build a home studio, and we have a guest. Our special guest has always been, and hopefully will always be, Victoria Swilley, who is an actor here in Orlando. She's outstanding. She was my first voiceover student, and she does between 10 and 30 jobs a month. She is killing it. She's awesome.
So must be a really good teacher. She actually
sets up the recording software and shows people how to use it. And then just to finish up, and then we also talk about how to get auditions. So the voice is your product, the home studio is how you manufacture your product, and the audition is how you sell your product. And we cover it all. A ton of stuff.
So number one, you must be a really good teacher if she's taking 10 to 30 jobs a month. And she was your first voiceover student, right?
Yeah, I would say it's 10% my teaching and 90% her talent and persistence.
Well, that's a humble answer, which is good.
It's also accurate. It is. Yeah.
So how would you say, how was it done before the internet? You would go into other people's studios and you get a job in a traditional, almost audition sort of way?
Yeah, I imagine. But, when I started, it was with the internet. So, if someone takes the seminar, they're getting everything from a guy that is doing it the way it's being done now. It's just my personal experience. Yeah. But back in the 70s, I joined the union in Philadelphia. I joined AFTRA. And, I would go to someone's studio and record a commercial there. Yeah. I get an occasional job, which was nice.
Yeah. So now it's just totally driven by the internet, which is another way the internet has completely changed the world. It's almost a whole industry of the digital revolution in a way.
Yeah. It is. It is. And that's, it opens up thousands of opportunities. I mean, I could do 50 auditions a day almost if I wanted to. And so I don't do that many. But it makes an endless stream of opportunities for you.
So what about competition? Does that mean because you're competing with every Joe Schmo in every town with a microphone and a recording studio in their house? Does it make it more competitive, or do you still find out that the best people just get the jobs?
Both. It's very competitive, but many clients only want to hear a certain number of auditions. And if you can get yours in there, then you might have a 1 out of 25 to a 1 out of 100 chance of getting it. If it's through an agent, there might be hundreds of people submitting. It's very competitive. But look, you go to a restaurant and it's wonderful. It'll bring you back. Product sells. So, the higher quality people do get a lot more jobs. Yeah. And the people with less talent, less ability to deliver what the client wants, they don't get as many jobs, if they get any jobs at all. Yeah. You really got to be good.
So it falls in line with something that I feel is there's no such thing. Well, there is such a thing as scarcity, but it's more like an abundance. There's an abundance of opportunity out there. And you just have to be one of the good ones who go after it and grab it. And someone with a scarcity mentality, sort of there's too many people on the internet, there's no way I'm ever going to get work. They don't even try. They just keep going to their office job and hating it.
Yeah, well, it's well said. Yeah. But isn't that like anything else? You're always going to have competition for something that's worthwhile. And the people that are once Nancy Crayer, an actor here in Orlando, said to me after we auditioned for some independent film which happened to be casting at Full Sail, but it was an independent paid role, I believe. She said, "Look, just stay with it. This is the last man standing business. So many people are going to drop off. You just keep plugging and keep making impressions, and you will grow in the business, or you'll have a chance." But also, as my acting, I have a few different teachers that I have studied with, and one of them is Russ Blackwell. And Russ is a spectacular teacher. He's currently one of the stars of the hit show Banshee on Cinemax. And I say it's a hit show because it's going into their third season, so they've been renewed twice. And he said in class once, I'll never forget it, he said, the best actor in the country, the very best actor in the country is someone you've never heard about. And you never will. Because that guy or that gal did not get the breaks. But he or she is the best actor in the country.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy, wicked, mean, awful business where you audition and you put your heart out there and then you wait to hear and maybe you get a call back. And oh my God, a callback. That means the director liked me. Maybe the writer liked me. Yeah. Certainly the casting director liked me. Yeah. And now I'm there for the callback. And oh my God, that went well. I'm on right of first refusal. I'm on right of first refusal. And they book someone else.
Yep.
Or here's one. All us actors in Orlando, most of us, you know, we're all experienced to a degree. There are some tremendous actors here, but we would give our right arm to get a 5 lines or under, walk on, day player role on some shitty national TV show, right?
Right.
Or a good national TV show.
Either way, you're not
you get to audition for everything here.
Yeah.
You get to audition for everything in the Southeast. You can audition for The Walking Dead. You could have auditioned for Homeland. You could have auditioned for Magic City. So what happens? You get a walk-on role, like I did.
Yeah.
And we're all excited for your 5 words to be on television. So you go on Facebook and you tell everybody. And we're going to end. Then you have a party at the local bar and everybody's there and they cut your scene. Or worse than that, they left the scene in there and just cut you. So in a world just where people are getting cut all the time. The world of acting. It's dangerous. And it's today. So anyway, that sucks.
You had a premiere party for the show that you were in, and
no, I didn't do that.
Oh, you didn't do that. Yeah,
I have friends. Oh, I don't tell people. I don't tell people on Facebook when I audition. I don't tell people on Facebook when I get a callback, and I don't tell people on Facebook when I get a role. I do except for a couple things, but I basically will, if it's a big deal. I want to tell people on Facebook because I love doing that after we shoot the thing because I want to know it went well, that I didn't make this big build up and promise my friend something. Then I fall on my face and they fire me and here's my latest post. I'm fired. So basically, you know, that's the way it goes. You know, we fight to get home, and a lot of our fellow actors in acting classes get terrific supporting roles, sometimes co-starring roles, guest star. You know, I think it goes from supporting to guest star to co-star.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you go up the ladder, I just auditioned twice this week for national TV shows.
Nice.
And I'm not going to say what they are. I'm not going to say the roles because the producers, that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
You don't want to give away what's going on, you know, what next season is going to bring, or even this season. But, you know, I'm so calloused now to the process that I'm not sitting there waiting for a phone call. You got to do 30 to 100 auditions to get a role anyway.
It seems to me, and I'm looking from the outside looking in, it seems to me that you've got to know how to play the game just to get an audition for a thing. And then you get good at getting the audition, and then you got to get good at making it through the first audition into the callback. And it's almost like gatekeepers. Like, it's not really about how good an actor you are. You have to play the game too. You also have to play the game of, I'm an actor and I'm coming. I finally learned how to get auditions. I learned how to get into the room the first time. And then you have to learn how to get out of that room into the next room. and that's considered progress. Not let alone.
Well, that's a business. I mean, that's the way business goes. You have to learn how to do what you do. By the time you get into an audition or you're taping, so many times, I'm sure everyone knows this, that you self-tape and you send in an audition, then you maybe get a call back, which could be live, or they direct book from your audition tape. When the camera rolls, in the first 5 seconds, you better make an impression because that's the way human nature is. And then it really does come down to your acting talent. Mm-hmm. So you've learned how to get a headshot, and you've taken acting classes, and you've learned how to get an agent, and you have an agent. So now you're getting opportunities, and you put all those building blocks together. Mm-hmm. You put that toil in there. You make your investment, and you get yourself to a point where you can audition for major shows, and that's wonderful. Then all that's left to do is do a good audition. Yeah. Whatever happens, happens. I just had an audition and a callback for a very major national SAG commercial. Mm-hmm. And I was so thrilled to get the callback because that means my audition was good. I'm what they're looking for. And I killed it. I knocked it dead out of the park. It was so good, the callback, with the director and a staff of like 5 people, that even though they were hurrying everybody out, they chatted me up. Yeah. They were asking me questions. We were joking. And at the end of the day, I did not get the role because it went to a younger demo. And although they did hire me for a special project, I'll tell you about it later, very confidentially. Okay. I actually, after the commercial airs in a couple of weeks, cool. On an NFL football game. Nice. So, you really go through your ups and downs. And then when you land one and you're sitting there on set, and it's either an extremely well thought out independent production here in Central Florida, where there is a real, where you have real legitimate experienced people that you're working with, mm-hmm. and it's as professional an environment as any national TV show or major motion picture. And you're sitting there and it's like, oh, this is cool. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Now I'm going to study my lines.
So 2 things about you that I've always noticed from the first time we ever met. Okay. So what I didn't mention in here before was that we'd worked together before on a short film in town. And I met you through some other actors that I met somehow, and they introduced me to you. And from our first phone call together, I noticed 2 things about you: is that you were a constant. You're always talking about your teachers. So, I don't know how many teachers you have. It sounds like you've got 20 different teachers, and you're constantly in a class, taking a class. You're constantly learning or trying to move forward with a new way of thinking, I guess. Right. And the other thing is that you are effortlessly casual about how things go. It's you're not. It's at least you have the presence that you are relaxed. That, I went to this audition and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. So my question to you is about the constant teaching, the constantly enrolling in a class, almost like a professional student in a way. And then how do you also just sort of after the audition just let go so you don't you're not in a constant state of anxiety about whether you're going to get the phone call or not?
Yeah, well, to answer that question first, as far as the anxiety, that just takes a lot of experience. I will tell you that the more times you do it, the more times you get used to rejection because you're going to be rejected most of the time. All the time. It's not like me and my friends are A-list actors where the agent says, hey, you have to have a meeting coming up with, Martin Scorsese. It's not that. It's we get, 4 lines to do or 5 lines or once in a while, something really juicy. Now, if something juicy comes up, you can get excited about it. I had last year I auditioned for a role on Walking Dead that included a 30-line monologue. Now, that would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, I got excited about that. But, and there are still times where you get feedback where you think you're going to get the role. And that especially happens when you get a call back. So let's say you're auditioning for something being filmed in Miami, and Laurie Wyman, the well-known casting director, calls you back to read for the director, and you tape for that. You're in the top 5 or top 8 people. I was very excited to go to Atlanta and be called back to read for the director of a film being produced by Oprah Winfrey and Brad Pitt. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is really cool. But even after that, you got to put it aside, or it'll drive you nuts.
Yeah.
And hopefully you learn that.
Yeah.
That put it aside, it'll drive you nuts. And you know, a lot of times these days when you do tape for a film, for a television show like The Walking Dead, or like the new one on NBC, Constantine, that's taping, or the unnamed show that's taping in the Florida Keys, KZK, which is starring Kyle Chandler, Sissy Spacek, and one other well-known guy, I can't think of his name at the moment, where I have personal friends that have recurring roles on that. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, these opportunities, they come and they go, but when you get when you get a chance to be in the final 5 or 8 people, that is then you're waiting on pins and needles.
Yeah.
Because they're going to make their decision within 24 or 48 hours. And you know, so the phone rings and it's the area code of your agent and your heart stops.
Yeah.
And I will be honest with you, I just did one of the things I referred to, the callback on the national commercial, which I thought I got. It was a punch in the stomach.
Wow.
To think that I didn't get it. It's like getting hit in the gut.
Yeah.
So you want to prevent that hit in the gut from happening by throwing it off.
Yeah.
But every once in a while you lose one that you really think you got, and you remind yourself, stop thinking that.
Stop thinking.
Just stop that. Go about your business. You did a good audition. Shut the hell up and go on to the next audition.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll be in front of a camera somewhere soon, and you know, creating a role, a character.
So,
and you also, by the way, answer number 2 question on the teachers.
Yeah.
I have had 3 acting teachers.
Yeah.
I started at Art's Sake with Yvonne Suhor, who is an extremely she's an excellent teacher, and she's extremely well known and has a lot of experience. Just a great teacher. Great way to start. Then I studied with Russ Blackwell, and currently I work with Lauren O'Quinn. So those are my 3 teachers.
Nice. And you're in a constant. Are you going to school because not going to school? Are you taking classes because you feel you have more to learn, or is it just interacting with other people who are like-minded and they're thinking about the same thing? They want to grow in the same way. So you're just surrounding yourself by smart people, or is it because you need to take the class on this or that?
Well, the answer is I've been acting for 5 years. That makes me brand new.
Yeah.
And it can be a 20-year process to get to the first rung, where you can go on camera and just be totally honest and not act.
Yeah.
You know, and just be. And that's a real difficult place to be for a person like myself, who is so mental, judgmental, controlling, you know, linear thinker type of guy rather than a process thinker type of guy. So it really is a process that takes a long time. You know, any casting director or director will say, always be working. So if you're not working in a film, always be reading with somebody, always be taking a class, always be involved. You know, I love to go to Starbucks, where I bumped into you once, and you know, just talk about film and maybe find a script to read with somebody and read it. So when you take classes, you do a lot of scene work. I just kind of got enlisted, which I'm really happy about, for a reading series where a bunch of actors in Orlando are going to be working with a gal named Laura Kamian, who I had to look up because I just met her yesterday. And we're going to be taking original screenplays, and we're going to be doing table reads for invited audiences.
Yes.
And it gives you a chance to work. So work doesn't mean necessarily getting a job, you know, landing a gig that you're paid for, but it means always keeping it going. Imagine if you're a golfer and you don't golf for a few weeks.
Yeah.
You have to practice every day.
Yeah.
So if you want to be good at anything, you got to work it. Yeah. So that's why you take classes, and you're encouraged to. Now, I'm in a hiatus with classes right now, but I always fill my day with some creative endeavor. Yeah. And in voiceover, which I do every day, I'm at least interpreting scripts every day. Yeah. And trying to get behind the story and say, okay, what is this really? Yeah. You know, is this a script about a Dove ice cream bar that talks about the delicious dark chocolate on the outside and the scrumptious white vanilla, thick, rich, creamy vanilla on the inside, or it is a story, as Fred Malamed, the actor in the movie In a World, said in an interview that I looked at recently, is the real message: this is the best time of your day. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that subtext. That's the meaning underneath the meaning. Yeah. So if you're constantly working and constantly involved in the creative process, then when an opportunity comes for an audition, you're well oiled, man. Yeah, I'm going to go in there and do that audition.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whether it's some boring doctor or some blind guy that just got healed in a tent somewhere in Kentucky, you can bring hopefully some of your reality to it and make the thing sing. We're all good.
Yeah.
All us actors here in Orlando are good enough to get a gig, and certainly good enough to book a look. In other words, get booked because of the way we look. But the real beauty, the real gem is when you do something that really is special.
Yeah.
And you know it. And you were that character for that moment. That's a cool feeling.
The other thing I've noticed about you is that you know everybody. I don't know how you do it, but I don't know a whole lot of people, and you even know me. So I don't know how you just seem to always know everybody. Everybody knows you. I've bumped into people that I just met, and we connected on Facebook, and they said, "Oh, you know Dan Wachs. I know him. I worked with him on this or that." This, you seem in the past 4 or 5 years of working at it have met and worked with nearly everyone in this city. How did you do that?
Oh, you're overstating it a little bit, but for one thing, if you go to an acting class, I love Lauren O'Quinn. She is the most selfless person I've met, period. Yeah. She's a working actor. So when you have an opportunity to learn from a working actor, that's the person that knows what's going on. So you not only get the acting skills and the adjustments and the direction and, the trying to get underneath everything, but you also get the real deal about how this crazy business works. Yeah. What the hell was your question again? Oh, how do I know people?
How do you know everybody?
So when you go to class, you meet a lot of working actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So taking classes, going to Full Sail, being in auditions, it's a community. Yeah. And I don't think I know everybody. And there are a lot of people I don't know. But when I go to, one of the fun things about going to an audition, especially if it's a cattle call and they have a lot of people in the room waiting to go in and get their 15 minutes of hopeful fame, is hanging out with people. Although you're not supposed to. You're supposed to really focus on the role. But it's, especially in a commercial thing that doesn't take the depth that a film role does or a TV role, you get to see friends that you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
So, I have an actor friend here. To give a story, her name is Betty Monroe. She actually is also a teacher in the Lake Mary school system. So I live in Lake Mary, Florida, and I should bump into her all the time. But I only bump into her at auditions. And she also works for certain casting directors on certain projects. So it's great to see her again.
Yeah.
It's nice. Also, Facebook is a great networking tool. I use it as a billboard for my my voice acting and acting. So people go to my page and you can see right away what I'm all about. And that's really why I do that. And I've been at auditions. I was at an audition at John Peros recently, and I'm talking to this gal, and we know each other, but we don't know how. And then she realizes, we're Facebook friends. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, now I'm seeing you for the first time. Hey, you get back whatever you put out there. That's the law of the universe, and it works. You throw up something up, it will come down right back at you and mirror you. So if you're active and you're meeting people, there's no secret to it. Certain people like to network. I don't know. I just go out there and try to get in a film, and you meet a lot of people in the process. Yeah. So when I did your film, In Pajamas, I had a chance, although I knew Andrea Jordan and I knew Jose, to spend an hour in the car with them, driving, back and forth from Lake Mary, Longwood area to Ocoee, was it?
Yeah.
No, not Ocoee.
Winter Garden.
Where was it? It was Ocoee, right?
We were in Winter Garden, yeah.
Winter Garden, yeah, to that wonderful coffee shop.
A filmmaking mecca.
We got to know each other a lot, and I met you through Andrea.
Yeah.
And, it's just a matter of putting it out there and being active and trying to get work. You'll meet people, and when you do, talk to them if it's appropriate and say, hey, how you doing?
If I meet somebody on Facebook who's in the film acting industry or filmmaking, there's it's inevitably there's at least one mutual friend, and that one mutual friend is almost always you. So you have an impressive net cast across this city, which is good. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. One more thing.
Yeah.
Survival tips 101. What I don't know, just a couple pieces of advice would you have to give to any, let's just say, voice artist or actor who is trying to move on to the next step, take the next step?
Very clearly, it's all about persistence. The first thing I would advise anybody to do is go out and rent the movie Rudy, because whenever I'm down and I think, what the hell am I doing? Yeah. Damn it, this sucks. Yeah. Whenever I'm in that low place, I put on the Rudy theme, which I get on Pandora all the time, and I think about that kid and his story, which I'm not going to tell you. Go see Rudy. And then the other thing that keeps me going is a saying that was coined by my former business partner, Bob Dodenhoff, and that is, winners lose more than losers lose. And originally, when we were talking about that, we were young guys and we were trying to pick up women at bars. And, we were trying to figure out what works. And Bob said to me, winners lose more than losers lose. Yeah. So you get all those stories about Sam Walton starting Walmart when he was 50-some years old after, Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb after 500 failed, this and that. Yeah. But it's true. Winners do lose more than losers lose, because winners put it out there. And the other piece of advice is ready, fire, aim, which has always been the way I've done things. I've always gone out for things that I technically was not prepared for. I always took a step. I always tried to skip a step in life. Yeah. And, but the persistence is it. And study. Do study your craft. You're not going to just waltz into anything. Not only in acting, but anything in life. You really got to make an effort. Yeah. So anything good, let's put it this way, nothing good comes easy. Yeah. I've accept it.
The one I've heard, and I heard it from, football coaches are always good for these little inspirational quotes. I don't really follow sports, but where I worked at some point, we were shooting an interview, and one of his quotes was, hard work works when talent doesn't work hard.
So do I have to get my arms around that? Hard work works when talent doesn't work hard.
So you can be the most talented person in the world, but the person who works hard is going to. Because I've seen really talented people just be like, it comes easy to them, so I don't really need to try. Next thing you know, they're getting passed by. It's like the tortoise and the rabbit thing. He just kept going, and he won while the rabbit took a nap, basically.
Yeah. Don't quit. Nancy Crayer's advice to me: last man standing.
Last man
Don't
standing.
quit. Don't give up.
You gotta be
That's it.
stubborn.
Nothing new there. Yeah. Nothing new. Human nature doesn't change, right? It's just, it is what it is.
Awesome. Well, Dan, it's been awesome talking to you. It's always awesome talking to you. And we finally just recorded one of our conversations is basically what we just did. But I wish you luck, man. Keep in touch. All right,
got it.
All right, thanks. Have a good Sunday. I really appreciate it.
Cheers. Happy Labor Day, man.
Yeah, you too. Have fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Film Reverie is a production of Broken Sunset Films, LLC. It was created and is produced under a Creative Commons license by Michael Beckemeyer and Bradley Kingston. Copyright Broken Sunset Films, LLC, 2014.